welcome to the Going Executive Director Show. My name is Brandy, and Jeff will be joining me here in a minute. And our purpose is to bring you the skills, techniques, inspiration, motivation, and daily activities needed for you to build a solid, profitable business. Now, remember, this is our team's philosophy, so we will be talking about our company that we're working with and team specifics on how to build your business. So if you guys are waiting for the MLM Leadership Show, that starts at noon. But feel free to join us. You may learn something here as well. Hey, good morning, Johnette. All right, so to start us off, we have been talking about John Maxwell's 21 indispensable qualities of a leader. And we are on, I got my notes here so I can keep myself on track. We are on problem solving, quality number 14. As Jack Sparrow would say, the problem is not the problem is your attitude about the problem. If you don't have problems, you're not going anywhere. Problems are a sign that you are growing, and problems don't necessarily mean are not always a bad thing. That is how you grow, and that's how you get better. And that's where another quote comes into play. Don't wish it was easy, wish you were better. So last year, we finished our schooling with our doctorate, and as soon as we graduated, all of our advertising disappeared for the holistic health business. Now, I had one of two options, and we weren't able to advertise at all. That was where we were advertising on Facebook, Craigslist, there's Backpage, and a few other ones that we were advertising on, and we were no longer allowed to advertise massage and Reiki on there. Excuse me, sorry, I need to get a drink. This is the fun thing about springtime, it's allergy season, so I'm a little congested, so you'll have to be patient with me. But anywho, I had one of two options. I could either suck it up and figure it out, or I could just lay there and bleed. So I decided to suck it up because we had 6 other ladies that were working with us in our studio, and that was more motivation for me to really figure this out. And I'm like, if we do not figure this out, all these people are going to be out of work. So I made a couple phone calls. I'm like, okay, I do have a background in marketing. How can I market our business? So that way we could get back on track. Now, thankfully, we were smart in the beginning, and over the past 3 years, collected every email and contact information of all of our previous clients, and we had a database. So we were able to kind of ride on that database for the next 90 days. And that actually helped tremendously. So we're happy that we were doing that. And I'm like, okay, that will help us survive until that point. But we really need to make this work in 90 days. So I called up a friend and I'm like, hey, I've got a background in marketing, but it's been a while since I've done the traditional blogging, SEO, and all that sort of stuff. And I'm like, can you just come and update me on what's new, what do I need to touch up on, and a couple things that you can recommend that I should be doing. So I had a huge list of what I needed to do. I'm like, I need to link myself with Google, Yelp, and all the other links where you can actually link back to your website. I actually had to go back through my website and redo it and start all over again because it just wasn't that great at the time. And it worked for what we needed to do, but now I needed it to do something else. And I was like, okay, I'm going to have to redo everything. And I had to write 3 blogs a day for 90 days. That was a lot of work, guys. And it sucked some days because I'm like, shoot, I got to have all the content. I got to make sure that it works with the legalities for our state and that I'm not saying the wrong thing. And oh my God, it was so much work. But after that 90 days, business started to pick back up again. I started to get new clients that are coming in and better clients too, and it all worked out. But that all happened because I sat down and made a decision that I needed to make this work. So that's exactly what I did, and that's where your choices come into play. So my point to this is you may always and not always be in control of what happens to you, but you're always in control of how you react to it. So, Jeff, are you just about ready?
Yep.
And I'll get your book here.
Okay, guys, so
Situation.
problem solving, building a business. You're going to have to scoot over more.
Oh,
'cause
sorry.
our 2 chairs don't actually fit in here. We have like limited space here in the office. So when John talks about problem solving, you know, he says you can measure a leader by the problems he tackles. The larger the problems that you can tackle, the more money you'll make inside a business, period. You know, as Brandy said about, you know, the massage business. Shamala is here. Hello. It says you can measure success not whether you have a tough problem to deal with, but whether the same problem you had last year. So are you figuring things out where you don't have to go figure them out again and again and again? Felix is here. What's up, sir? Sarah, hello. So in problem solving, John goes on to talk about, he says, you know, really fleshing it out. He says, you know, leaders anticipate problems. You know you're going to have certain issues. When you start into network marketing, direct sales, when you start into Legal Shield, you're going to have certain issues. The first issue most people are going to have is just understanding direct sales and network marketing. Direct sales being just selling the product, and network marketing being building a team. If you've never done that before, obviously you're going to have the problem of just understanding how that works. Jerry's here. What's up, sir? 2, John says, leaders have to accept the truth. Eventually you have to get to a point where you understand that this is more work and this is a little bit harder than what you thought it was going to be. You know, most people go out and be like, oh, this is a piece of cake. I'm just going to talk to some people and they're going to want legal services. You'll probably figure that out really quick, like I did. Eventually what I understood is we weren't so much selling legal services as you're selling responsibility, and that's a really hard product to sell. The good thing is if you can sell that, you can sell absolutely anything in the industry at all. But when you finally understand what you're actually trying to market, which is responsibility, you understand how you need to start marketing it. Because that is a very, very hard subject to convince people on if you're trying to quote unquote sell it. In fact, sales is about 30 times harder to do inside the industry than it is to recruit. Because when you recruit, you're actually selling lifestyle. You're actually selling money. You're actually selling something most people try to find, try to get to, try to, you know, like find a better way. Whereas responsibility, most people try to avoid at all costs, which is why it's very hard if you're just selling a product by itself. And that's really anything in the industry. So 3, John says leaders see the big picture. So you kind of have to see the big picture of what you're trying to create. So inside of Legal Shield, depending on where you're trying to get to, I look for people who are trying to build an extra, you know, several $1,000s, upwards of 6 figures. If you look for people who try to make $500, their commitment is usually under $500. If you look for people who want to make several thousand, let's just call it 1,000 a week. If you look for people who want to make 1,000 a week, if you look for people who want to make 2,000 a week, which is actually 6 figures, it's actually easier to work with them than it is to work with a person who wants to make $500. Why is that? Because generally, if you're going to talk to people who are already making $1,000 a week, they're going to have a certain skill set already built. Their skill set of commitment, their skill set of this is going to take time, their skill set of this is more of a career, not some quick, I'll talk to 2 people and this is all going to work out for me. 4, John says they handle one thing at a time. They don't get frustrated. They don't get overwhelmed. They don't, you know, throw their hands up and, you know, kind of make a scene. They're going to be like, okay, priorities. What is the most important thing to learn right off the bat? And I was going over this the other day with somebody who was kind of frustrated in the business. I said, okay, let's get the contact down. Do you have the contact down? What are you going to say on the front end? Now, I have something I say every time, which, you know, has worked for me and is working for others, and people are actually paying us to teach them inside of our school. And it works well. You know, we were actually on a call last night. It was actually a training call with about, I don't know, it's 50-some people in the group, maybe 60-some people in the group. I believe there's 8 different countries. I believe it represents somewhere over 15 different companies. And people were succeeding in multiple companies, multiple entry points. They all were using the same basic contact of, hey, can you do me a favor? I want to tell you what I'm working on outside of my full-time thing. So if you run into the right person, you can refer them to me. There was a problem that I saw inside the industry with people who are sending out links to people that nobody's watching the videos that we're sending them. Nobody's actually clicking on the link. And most of the time, the reason nobody's clicking on the link, nobody's actually watching them, is really two reasons. First of all, you probably don't have any authority with the person you're sending it to. And authority meaning is you're not seen as the expert in that field. You're just seen as somebody that sent them a link. The second thing you're competing against is you're competing against their entertainment. You're competing against Facebook. You're competing against Instagram. You're competing against Bubble Pop. You're competing against all the other games that are on people's phone. You're competing against Game of Thrones. You're competing against all these other things that people want to do. And I'll be real honest, your link is not as important to people as their entertainment. So what I was looking for, and the problem that I was trying to solve, was I wanted three things to happen every time I went to talk to somebody about what I did. Number one is I wanted people to be able to refer me at the end. If people can't refer you at the end of whatever you're doing, what was the purpose of doing it in the first place? I mean, really, why are you even doing it? And that's why I can't use a flyer or business card, because a flyer or business card doesn't allow somebody to refer. All it does is it says, this is my phone number, this is my contact information. That's great. That's great now that they have the contact, but they don't know anything about what you do. Too many people assume that they're going to read a flyer. Nobody reads a flyer. Yeah, I was told this years ago in marketing by people who get paid millions of dollars. They're like, you could write "you suck" in the middle of the flyer or "you suck" in the middle of the brochure, and nobody would ever find it. The reason being is people throw that crap away. Nobody watches it. Nobody looks at it. I don't care if it's a printing company. I don't care if it's Legal Shield. I don't care if it's XYZ company. Nobody reads that stuff. So my point is that there's also no personal contact with it. It's not personal. And if you're not personal today with all of the messages that are out there, you're really not going to get anywhere. So just handing a bunch of shit out isn't going to help you. It might make you feel good. It might make you feel important that you have this big stack of paper, that you've cut down a bunch of trees once more to try to get the word out. But that worked 100 years ago. That worked 100 years ago when that was the only piece of paper coming to their house. Now that we get junk mail, now that you get emails, now that you get, 100 different messages, how do you stand out? The only way you're going to stand out, and I learned this, several years ago, the only way you're going to stand out is you physically having a conversation with a person. Physically having a conversation with a person. And better than a conversation is actually a presentation. You're asking for their time to do a presentation. That's really what you're asking for. And maybe you want to come out and point blank it like that. Hey, can you do me a favor? I want to do a presentation on what I'm doing. So if you run into the right person, you can refer them to me. I'm just looking for the referral. And as long as you say I'm just looking for the referral, what I found is people will actually listen. Thanks, Dave Peters, for putting that at the end of what he did. And I heard that and I was like, that's good. That repeat at the end really makes sense. Derek, what's going on? I saw that you, we'll talk about that later, something about insurance. Congratulations, by the way. So they handle one thing at a time. So that's the next trait of a successful leader, is they're going to handle one thing at a time. They're going to find out what they're doing. So this presentation thing, there's three things that I want to convey in the presentation. Number one is they have to be able to refer. And if you just send somebody a link and they watch 2 seconds of it, they can't refer you because they have no idea what the hell you're doing. So you have to physically have this conversation with them. And the presentation has a beginning, a middle, and an end. A presentation goes in order every time. It's not really a conversation where you're just like, hey, I ran around and then I ran into a friend and then, a lot of people talk and forget to do a presentation. A presentation is actually pre-built to convey a message and have a conclusion at the end, not just a conversation. So there's 5 things you really want to cover inside of a presentation, of any presentation, you're going to cover a little bit about a company. You're going to cover the need that, or in the marketplace that you solve. You're going to cover whatever products or services you have. And this is really any company. I don't care what you do. You're going to cover the compensation if you're looking for people, if you're recruiting. And you're going to cover the talent and the timing of what you do. Those are the basic 5 things you're going to cover. I've seen and done this in multiple companies, and every time I've made money, I've made money in every single company that I've worked with. Great money. I can't say great money in every company, but I've been able to make money in every single company I've worked with because I basically follow those 5 things when I am presenting. And if you get anything in front of enough people and people that know, like, and trust you, you'll find the people who are just like, yeah, that sounds good. Wouldn't mind. Nobody wants to be sold, but everybody wants to buy. I was told that a long time ago. That's like sales 101. Nobody wants to be sold, but everybody wants to buy. So you have to convey the message in a way where basically people tell you, yeah, I'd want this. How much is it? This is something I would like. You like it. I'm seeing that other people like it. I'm seeing that other people use it. I wouldn't mind having it too. 5. So this is, again, we're going over John Maxwell's 21 indisputable qualities of a leader. He says the 5th thing about problem solving is they don't give up a major goal when they're down. They don't give up on their goal when they're down. They don't give up on their goal because they feel bad. They don't give up on the goal because, somebody told them no. They don't give up on the goal because the person they thought was going to get in doesn't get in. By the way, most people start out in direct sales or network marketing sort of like with a lottery card. If you've ever seen a scratch-off lottery card, it usually has like 6. I don't know. I think I bought one once. But it usually has a bunch of different sections. I'm talking about like scratch 6 and then, win a prize. Kind of like a, what are those machines that you pull the lever?
The slot machines?
Thank you. Slot machine. I couldn't think. So it's like people have like 6 faces underneath this slot machine kind of thing, and they'll go to the first person, and that person doesn't want to go to the second person, go to the third person, go to the fourth person. They get down to the end, and nobody wants to join. And all of a sudden, they're like, okay, this company doesn't work. What's stupid is they'll actually join another company and go back to the exact same 5 people and be like, well, maybe this company will work for these 5 people because I'm sure these 5 people will want to do this. If you haven't realized, if people don't want to do the first company, don't want to do the second company, don't want to do the third company, what makes you think a 4th, 5th, 6th, 8th company is going to be? Those aren't the people that are going to do it, period. So problem solving says is you need to move on and actually get some different people. Show some different people. This is some stuff that I realized. I actually shared this last weekend. And I'm just going to talk about Legal Shield, period. But in Legal Shield, they're open in the United States, and they're opening all of Canada, finally. Opening all of Canada, and they're changing the product around, so the product's going to be exactly the same in the United States as it is Canada, and had to put in a new customer service because they butchered that in the past. Let's be real honest. So they're going to fix that. At least that's the plan. So 80% of the population I know lives within 200 miles of the border of the United States, but the whole thing's going to be open. So if it's the same in the United States as it is in Canada by the end of October, that's supposed to be in place, then that's the marketplace, I'm just going to say. There's about 150 million people from what I've told and researched in Canada. I'm not as an expert in Canada as I should be. And there's another 350 million people in the United States. I know in the United States, 27% of the population is underneath the age of 18. 27%. So you can basically knock out about 100 million people. There's another 50 million that come in and out of the country for different reasons and have their own issues. So that leaves about 200 million people. If we're going to do the exact same range up in Canada, roughly 30% underneath the age of 18, then you're going to have about 100 million people. So in between the United States and Canada, there's about 300 million people left. 300 million people left. Yes, several people know. Yes, several people have been in before. But they haven't been in underneath you. They haven't been in underneath the plan that we have. So that gives you that marketplace. Right now, there's 1.7 million people on the books. That's in between the basic legal plan and the identity theft plan and whatever. The last time I read their report, when it was a publicly traded company. Now it's private. When it was a publicly traded company, what I realized is they had, it was something in the neighborhood of 700 or 800 legal plans, and then the rest of the plans on the books were identity theft. They actually split them into two and then counted them as that was, you know, the membership base. A lot of those people had the same product, so it might be that they have that many people owning the product, but not that many people involved. Hopefully you guys understood that. What that meant to me is there were roughly, out of 300 million people that you could talk to, there were roughly 299 that were available. 299 million people that were not involved in Legal Shield that you had access to after 47 years. So the market's pretty big. How do you get in front of these people? I have recruited a huge number of people, and I'm talking like 30% maybe, that have been in before underneath people that A, maybe they didn't get any help from. B, maybe they signed up and didn't engage. C, they signed up in the past, used it once, and said, hey, that's all I need it for. I didn't see the opportunity. D, they signed up. You know, these are all people who've signed up. I mean, like at least 30% of the people that have signed up recently had been in before for different reasons. They were working with teams. They just didn't get started. You know, it was a bad time in life. They had just gotten married. They had just gotten divorced. They had just sold their house. They had just bought a house. They had just had kids. I mean, all these different reasons people had been in and not pursued it. So I'm looking for people that already believed in it. They already believed in it. They just, A, didn't connect with the person, or they didn't get started right the last time. There's an enormous amount of people out there that have gotten in, started, learned about it. Currently, right now, one of the people that we've signed up started in 1985. Just a few years, it wasn't even, it was like 12 years into the company. Another gentleman we signed up had signed up in 1987. So 85 and 87 are two of the people that we've recruited that had been in previously. So sometimes, I mean, that makes it a lot easier when people are like, oh my gosh, I know of this, I've heard of this. One of the gentlemen had used the product to help out and solve a bunch of speeding tickets years and years and years ago. Another gentleman had been in years ago and helped them with a huge legal issue, let's just put it that way. Another gentleman had been in, and it was his first kind of training inside the industry. So think about how many other people are out there. How do you find these people? You're only going to find these people through having that conversation. That's the only way. I was put on the phone recently with a friend of mine, Andrew. He jumped on and, you know, brought on another guy, and we started talking. He's like, oh my gosh, I'm involved in this. My dad's involved in this. My dad actually got started by some people in Fort Wayne. And I was like, he gave me the names, and I was like, I think I know those people. They were up there in age. The last time I was in, they were in their 70s, so they must be in their 80s. He's like, yeah, I think that's right, they're in their 80s. And I said, they're still out there rocking. I was like, man, that's awesome. So reflecting, bringing it home. So to improve your problem solving, do the following. Number one, if you look to build, you're going to find trouble. If you look to build, you're going to find issues. If you're doing anything of substance, you're going to have problems. The reason being is when you grow, there are going to be growing pains. There's going to be growing issues. Whether it be a traditional business like the one Brandy and I have, traditional business being, you know, a holistic health spa, there are problems. There are issues constantly, you know, just to kind of give you a little bit of a scenario. In the other side of the building, there is a water leak. How do we find that out? Well, when we had this huge rain. There's another problem on the back side of the building because the windstorm that came through a few weeks ago, or what was it, a week ago, that ripped down all the trees over the weekend, or maybe that was Friday or Saturday, that ripped down all the trees. That was just this last week, ripped a piece of siding that was banging against. I heard that last night when we had our second rainstorm. So there's another problem. It's constant. The problems at your house. Why is it that there are problems at your house, there are problems at your job, you can't get a hold of somebody, you sent something to somebody and it's not there, and then all of a sudden you'll get in a business like this and expect there not to be any problems? Like, how is that possible? What kind of utopia did you think you signed up in where there's not going to be any issues? Well, the website's confusing. Yeah? Great, you're going to have problems. 2, develop a method for solving problems, or develop people who are good at solving problems that you go to. So in real estate, I have a couple people that I'll go to when I can't figure something out. If it's a contract issue or maybe some way to look at a deal, when it comes to appraisals and what's good, bad, and ugly, I have certain people I will go to. Problems inside of health and wellness. For those of you who don't know, Brandy and I went through a school and, became naturopathic doctors. But I'm not versed in everything. So I have a couple people that I'll go to when, for instance, it's a hormone-based issue. I won't try to solve it myself. That's not my specialty. I will actually refer that out to somebody. Had a person, just recently said, hey, I've got some bad, he's talking about tendonitis. And I was like, okay, great. Where is it? How long? Asked all the questions. I said, well, there's a couple different solutions for that. I'm going to go look up and, go to the people that I know that are good at solving those issues, and we'll see if we can, get you in front of that information, and then you can make your own decision. So I just provide solutions to people and let them go figure out what they want to do. I'm not here to convince anybody that one method is better than the other. Just like inside of what we're doing and what we're building, I'm not trying to convince you that this is the only way to, it's not the only way to do it. It's the way that I've seen that's most successful for the most people. So it may not be your flavor, but when you get a bunch of people in, you're going to need something to tell all those people. And if your method only works for you, you're stuck. You're going to have a very short career inside of whatever you're doing. You're going to bring a couple people in and you're going to say, well, this is the method I'm using. And everybody's like, yeah, I can't use that. I don't know those people. I don't have that background. That's not going to work for me. They're out and you're back to square one. So what might work for you doesn't work for everybody else, isn't really going to help you out. So John says by developing a method, he goes, I use this word called teach. Teach says time. So the T is, time to spend discovering what the real issue is. The E in teach is exposure, find out what others have done. The A is for assistance. Have your team study all the different angles. The C is for creativity, brainstorm and multiple solutions. And the H is hit it. Hit it meaning figure out what you need to do and then go hit it. Go apply what you figured out and make sure that it gets solved and gets done. Last but not least, surround yourself with people who can solve problems. Don't surround yourself with the crybabies. Don't surround yourself with the negative Nancys. I heard that a long time ago. The people who are always like, well, there's always an issue and I can't do it. And, this is wrong and that's wrong. And, and that's their conversation no matter what they're doing. I don't care if you go to a dance. Well, the party, the music's always loud and it's not the music that I like. And it's not that, no matter where you take these people, they're negative. A gold brick could fall in their backyard and they would call and be like, you're not going to believe this. I was trying to mow the yard and it, and I hit this brick and it broke the lawnmower. Now I'm going to have to buy a new lawnmower. I was like, did you ever think that the brick might be worth your house and everything you own and you never have to mow the grass again? Well, yeah, but I don't have the strength to move the gold brick. And, they're just negative. It doesn't matter what it is. Lottery, anything. Well, not, I was at the gas station and the lotto went up over like 200 million at one point, and then it went to 400 million. It was approaching 600 million. And literally a person in line's like, well, if you win that, they're going to take half of it. I was like, well, I'm pretty sure if it's 600 million and they take half, you still have 300 million, which I'm guessing is about 300 million more than your ass has right now based on your current situation of standing in front of a gas station at 10 a.m. bitching and whining about the taxes on a lot. I mean, some people it just doesn't matter. I was like, you realize you're still going to be rich, right? 300 million's more than most of us could comprehend. But that's they're just going to find something negative. That's what people do. So what you're doing is looking to be resourceful and hanging out with people who are resourceful, who can figure things out. The problem, like Brandy said at the beginning, the problem with the problem usually isn't the problem. It's the attitude you have about the problem that stops you from moving forward. Most people's problems inside this industry is basically finding people to show and then figuring out how to explain what you do to people. Once you figure those two things out, the rest of it works out. I mean, those are really the two biggest issues. Now, the first one is contacting people really has more to do with self-esteem, and it has to do with internal, what problems you have, than anything. The second one of being able to present just has to do with Did somebody ever sit you down and explain to you how to present something in the right order? By the way, there is psychology behind that of how to present things in the right order to get the results that you need. And if you do it and you do it right, you're going to have a great result over and over and over again. There's a psychology to presenting, and your presentation of what you think is going to work versus what does work is usually very, very different. So you might want to go with what the experts say, not with what you feel, think, or your determining factor. Now, if you've had great success and you've presented in the past and you've made millions, then let's go with your idea. If not, let's go with the idea of the experts who figured it out and designed it. So with that, tomorrow we're going to talk about relationships. How relationships play in, how to build them, what to do about some of the damaging ones, something to do about with the ones you've damaged. How do you rebuild those, and how does that apply to your network marketing business? Anything else?
So with that, be sure to leave a comment of replay if you guys are watching the replay. Type in where you guys are plugging in from. If you're plugging in from Wisconsin, Texas, Indiana, let us know where everybody's from. So with that, we will see you guys tomorrow.
Awesome. Guys, have a good one. Thank you so much.